Hi all, welcome back to yet another episode of Become a Citizen Developer. In the previous episode, we got a flavor of what is RPA, what is citizen developer, how to become a citizen developer by installing StudioX, which is to get started with it. And now in this episode, we're going to dig deep into the real automation using the StudioX. We're going to discuss few of the prerequisites and few of the terminologies related to citizen developer, and then we're going to see the UI automation and as well as the web automation, which becomes the agenda of today's episode. So before that, let's just discuss a bit about some repetitive tasks that we might be regularly performing, which actually have a very high automation potential. So we must be extracting data from an internal desktop application or from some CRM application and sending the data via mail or actually entering the data into some Excel. Then we must be downloading multitudes of attachments received via email messages, or actually composing such mails, attaching the attachments and sending it across to various groups and to various people. And we may have to deal in with such hundreds and thousands of mail on daily basis by replying them or by downloading the attachments. Then we would be obviously dealing in with files and folders, renaming, organizing them. So all of these can be automated using StudioX. Now, first thing first, how should we discover what can actually be automated using StudioX is what we're going to discuss first in this episode. Then we'll have human path and robot path. That is terminology specific to citizen developer and StudioX. We're going to discuss on that. Then we're going to watch the components of StudioX, which are the two main components of StudioX. And then we're going to practically implement UI automation and web automation. So without further ado, let's quickly get started with the agenda of today's episode. So discover what can be automated using StudioX. So there are broadly two ways. One is scientific process discovery, and the other is crowdsourced process discovery. Now, as a business user, I obviously would not have access to most of the discovery tools. So what am I supposed to do then? So the discovery tools are actually not intended for us to use it. It's basically used by the IT and the COE to identify what all processes can be automated to have a high automation potential within the organization. But we should obviously know about it. So if I talk about scientific process discovery, it's a data-driven automation suggestion using two of the tools of UiPath, which is task mining and process mining. And if we talk about crowdsourced process discovery, so it is us, the employee, we identify all the tasks that we do on a daily basis and we think, okay, this is a repetitive task and it can be automated. So we can document the steps of those or of such processes using Automation Hub and Task Capture. These two are again, two different products of UiPath, which is Automation Hub and Task Capture. To give you a brief idea about all these four products that we just talked about so that you actually know what it is. So if I first talk about task mining, so it collects data about your day-to-day procedures in your organization. And it's actually used by COE leaders, which is Center of Excellence leader. They use task mining to analyze what their employees are doing, what all repetitive tasks their employees are doing on day-to-day basis, so that those can be picked up for automation. Then we have process mining. So then we have process mining. So it brings together your data from multiple IT system or from multiple databases, and then it transforms them into, a visual, it gives us a visual representation so that we can actually, get a complete visibility of the processes being happening, so that if they are actually making any impact on the company performance, then we can pick them up for automation. So these are also mainly used by COE leaders or business analysts. So, and they discover and uncover automation opportunities, which are actually using IT systems or application data. Then we have crowdsourced process discovery. And in that we have Automation Hub. So Automation Hub, it's again a web portal wherein you can, post in your ideas, and then there are a lot of cycles, it gets approved and all of that. And then, so it basically act as a, you can say, repositories wherein you post your automation ideas, where you identify that, okay, this is a process that is being repetitively performed. So you post an idea. So it's like a hub, a repository of such ideas. And Automation Hub offers, it is again being offered to COE, or the business user. So it's like a space to come together and then drive the automation opportunities further. Then we have task capture. So as the name itself contains capture. So it is though integrated with Automation Hub only, but it collects process insight and it supports the employee driven approach. So it actually, captures each step that you perform while performing a particular process. So it captures and then, create a sort of documentation for you by itself. So that is task capture. Now moving further, we have human path and we have robot path. So these two terminologies are related to StudioX or to Citizen Developer. So we kind of have human path, which is the steps or activities that we perform in order to complete that particular process. So it's kind of very high level steps. So we start by clicking somewhere, by opening some application, and then we end it by sending mail or storing the data somewhere. So that's human path. Now the robot path is kind of same, but it's a detailed step with resource label. Now, what are resource label is what we're going to cover in the next slide when we talk about the two main components of UiPath StudioX, which is resources and action. So these are the two main components that actually comprises everything that we perform on UiPath StudioX. Resources are nothing but all the applications that you're using. So if you're using a web automation using Chrome or Internet Explorer or Firefox, so that Chrome, Firefox actually become your resources. And the action that you perform on those resources, like you click somewhere or you navigate to certain tab or you enter the password or you download something. So those are the actions that are being performed on that particular resource. So when we say that the robot path contains detailed step with resource label, which means that we are now indicating what particular application we are going to use, whether it would be a web application or it would be Word file or it would be Excel file. So all those are actually resources, which is the application that we are communicating with, and all the activities that we perform on that application actually becomes our action. So now that we got a pretty good glimpse of how can we identify the process and how do we actually, segregate the robot path and the human path. And once we have the robot path in place, and that is how now we know that what has to be done by the robot or in which way we have to lead the automation. And we would be utilizing resources and action to actually develop that automation. So now let's dive into actually creating one of the automation. So the first would be the unicorn name generator. So there is this URL. So we're going to enter our name and we're going to enter what month we were born, and we would get a random unicorn name generated for us. This may seem little useless. I mean, the steps or the process that we have picked for automation, but this is just to give you a glimpse that how would you actually do UI automation. So I have picked up a dummy site for showing you how would you do that, but you may have a useful site that you would be logging in daily, or you would be performing certain set of activities inside it. Now there are two ways to do UI automation. Either I do it via using app or web recorder, where each of my steps would be recorded as and when I actually perform those steps. And the other way would be by adding one activities after other. Okay, so let's first proceed with adding one activities. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing using an app or web recorder as well. So now that we know that we're going to deal with a browser, we're going to use, so this you see, once I selected app and web, there is a resources section over here, and then we have an action section over here. Okay, so because I would be using a browser, I would drag in a use application browser activity, and I would be indicating the browser that I'm going to use. So I'll use indicate, and I'm going to indicate my window, and it has already taken up the browser URL by itself. We did not even need to type it. It will automatically take the browser URL. Now that it has taken the browser URL, we now know that we have to enter our name here, and we know that we have to enter the month we were born here. Okay, so for typing into, we have a type into activity. Okay, so I'll use a type into activity. I'll indicate the target on screen. This is where I have to type the name. Once you indicate, it will automatically select the anchor for it. Anchor is that relative to where it is written, what is your name, it's going to type your name. If you think the anchor that it has automatically selected is correct, then you can click on ticks, which is confirm. If you think the anchor it has automatically detected is not correct, you can indicate by yourself, or you can even delete the one it has selected. For me, it has selected the correct anchor by itself, so I'm going to confirm it. Similarly, I can use another type into activity to type in the month. So I'm going to select what month you were born. I'll click on it. It will automatically select the anchor. It has selected the right anchor, so I'm going to confirm it. So once it has typed everything, now I'm going to click on get unicorn name. Okay, so because it's a drop down, I can also select item. Okay, instead of selecting type into, I can also select item, because usually where drop downs are used, you don't select type into, you go on with selecting items. Okay, so once you select it, you'll get values here. You can use ask when run also. Okay, so I've used ask when run. Okay, now I'm going to click on get unicorn name. So I'm going to use a click activity. I indicate the target on screen. So this is my button. I'm going to indicate it. We'll say confirm. Okay. Now, once I actually enter, I'll enter my name. I'll select my birth month and I'll click on get unicorn name. So this is actually my unicorn name. So I also have to capture my unicorn name. And for that, we have an activity get text. So all the activities that are there, so their name is quite similar to the action they're performing. So you need not to recognize it, because it has accordingly been designed so that you don't have to actually memorize every activity. When you have to get the text from the browser, or you have to read the text, so is the activity name, which is get text. Now that it has read it, I'll have to store it somewhere. So I'm going to save it for later use. I'll name it unicorn name. As I told you in the previous episode, that all the activities that you save for later use actually is present here in the data manager. So you can see data manager. Now I'm going to use a message box to actually show that it has extracted the right unicorn name. So I'll use saved value. And once I click on use saved value, I'll get my unicorn name here. So I'll just click on it. Okay. So now let's run. So I'm going to close the Chrome and I'll click on run. So it has come here on find unicorn name, entered the name. Okay, so it is select item, what month do you want to select? Okay. Okay, why did it not enter the name? Is because I did not provide in the type into value. Okay, so just for the record, I'll show you that it selects April once I pass it April, but the name has not been provided. So that's because I think I did a mistake. In the type into activity, I actually did not type anything. If you see here, I did not type anything. So I'll type the value. I can either ask when run, so that it actually asks me what value has to be entered, or I can simply hard code a value by clicking on text. Once I click on text, it will ask for text. So I'll type in my name and then I'll click on run again. So it will type in my name and ask me for the month. So I'll say the month to be April. I'll click on OK. So it will then click on get unicorn name and get me the name, which is Radiant Nimble Flower. So that's my unicorn name and the execution has stopped. Now, the way we have done it using one activity at a time, we can also perform the same steps by using app or web recorder as well. So we will see how we'll do it by using app or web recorder. So I'm going to click on app and web recorder. So here is my app and web recorder. This is the button which I can use to start the recording. So I'm going to click on it. Once I click on it, the first step that I have to perform is I'll click on Chrome. Okay. So there is also an arrow button, and from here I can choose in the action. So I'll say click. So it will automatically open the Chrome, as well as it has recorded the steps if you see use application, right? Now, once I come here, I actually have to type in the URL over here. So I'm going to say that over here, type into the URL. So I'm going to copy paste the URL, which is this, and I'll confirm. So it has typed in the URL now. Okay. I'm going to pause it and I'll type in the URL manually and enter. Now, once the URL is open, what I have to do is I'm going to enter the name. Okay. So I'll start the recording again. I'll come here. I'll click on it. Remove this so that you can see it. Okay. So it says enter a value. So I'll say, okay, the value has been entered. I've entered my name. I'll click on confirm. Then the next thing is that I have to select what month were you born. So I'm going to again click on it. So it will ask me for the month. So I select your birth month. So I'm going to this time select, say, June. I'll select it. It says press enter when done. So I'm going to press enter. Then I have to click on get unicorn name. So I'll simply click on it. It has identified the target. It has clicked on it. What action do I have to perform? I have to perform a click. Okay. So now once I've performed the click, okay, I think I performed the click twice. Okay. So I'll delete one from here. So I'll delete it. Okay. So it has been deleted. Now what I have to do is I have to get the text. So I'll use get text. Once I have also extracted the text from here, I'm going to click on save. Once I save it, all the steps that I performed just now has been recorded here. Okay. You can see. Okay, let's go one by one. So it says use application. Okay, click Google Chrome. I think maybe there was an issue over here. So I can just delete this. So it has selected Chrome. Then it came to Chrome and it entered the URL. After URL, I did press enter. Okay. So what I can do is I'll open the text. So this is the text I'm entering. Once I've entered the URL, I also have to click on enter. So I'll click on this plus icon. I'll go with special keys, and from the special keys, I'll select enter and I'll click on save. So now it is entering the URL. Once the URL has been entered, it's going to enter my name. It's then going to select my month, birth month. Then it's going to click on get unicorn name and then would actually get the value of it. So now that I've got the value, I'm going to save it for later use, and I'll use a message box to print the same. Okay. And I can get the value from here, use saved value. Yes. I'm going to close the Chrome and run this thing again. So I showed you how to actually perform UI automation using step-by-step automation, wherein you drag one activity after other, as well as using app or web recorder. So it is entering the name. Okay. So it would enter the name, it would select the month, it would click on get unicorn name and then actually get me my unicorn name, which is this time Radiant Cloud Jumper. Okay. So this is the way how we actually performed all these steps. Okay. Now, as a practice, what you can do, there is also another sample site. I would be pasting the link of this particular site in the description box below. So what you have to do is you'll actually have to come to this particular place, click on new supplier, add the internal name, external name, description, industry, everything, and then scroll down and click on save. So this you can practice as part of web automation. I will be pasting the link. So I'll repeat on the steps. You'll have to navigate to this particular URL. Then click on new supplier. Once you click on new supplier, provide certain dummy details here. Say you provide the details like Anmol, then you provide some industry, chemicals, you provide 10 employees, and then scroll down here and click on save. Okay, so this you can practice as for this particular thing, which is UI automation as well as web automation combined. So this you can take as a task to practice on. And if you have any queries, you can drop it in the comment section below and I'll reply to it. So that's all for this particular video. Thanks for watching the video. And in the next episode of Become a Citizen Developer, we're going to cover another topic, which is word automation. So till then, stay tuned and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel.